were saying that what did you just say?
I said my wife thinks I'm a negative thinker, or I dwell on the negative sometimes. I like to think that I dwell on the reality part of it.
Explain
Whereas, say if you're not thinking about, let's say the future, right? You're not thinking about the future. And you're not making plans, financial freedom. You know, you're not making plans to be in a certain area of your life at a certain time. If you're not making those plans, life happens to you when you're not making plans. So whether it's your car broke down because you didn't think about, oh, my car was going to need to be serviced, or whether a random bill came down the pipe because you wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Whatever that is, if you wasn't planning for it, it could happen to you and then throw you off track where you want to go.
Life happens to you. You don't happen to it. Because when things come up, you are unprepared and can't handle it, and then it creates this spiral of effects, spiral of mishap after mishap because you weren't prepared in the beginning.
Facts. So the worst, they say people are the worst at funerals and weddings. Why?
Because they were unprepared for the death.
Unprepared for the person dying, and unprepared for these unpaired relationships when we got to put everybody together for a wedding. You say that
because I'm always talking to my parents about when they pass. You know, they're getting older and older. Eventually, they gonna die. You know, sad to say, but everybody dies. And I got, on my mother's side, I got me and my brother. On my daddy's side, it's 6 of us. You know, so I got 4 parents. And on the side where it's 6 kids, I got 2 parents. You know, a daddy and a stepmother. When they pass, what happens to their property? What happens to the things that they own? Is it just left to me and my brothers to fight over it?
So that's where that preparedness, having them talks now, while everybody's still in their same mind, having your parents, mama, daddy, make sure you got a will.
Right.
Most people don't even understand what that is. Like, no, this is in the timely demise of your death, or you know, you lived a long life. We have everything set to how things are supposed to flow.
Are those conversations difficult to have with your parents when they healthy and you already talking about them dying? Are they difficult?
With my family, we
just in general.
In general, I think it is.
People are uncomfortable
in certain cultures.
In certain cultures,
yeah.
Right. You think? What about the black culture?
I think it's definitely hard to talk about.
You think it's probably easier in the white culture, or is that just? Do you assume that it's easier in the white culture?
I do assume it.
Why?
Because of you can see the difference in the funerals. I know that's funny, but you know, you got the black funeral, and you know what I'm saying? I've been to a few white funerals, and you know, it's not dramatized, it's not dramatic. Nobody every people are sad and crying because they love when it's passed.
Right.
I ain't seen nobody fall out.
Yeah.
You know, they give it up at a black funeral, but I think
he said they give it up.
They give it up. Some people want to go with them, you know what I'm saying? But I think it's ultimately because we haven't had the conversations, we haven't talked, we haven't prepared. And then one of my friends called me one time. He said I think his mom or auntie died, and he said his people was just over there, fighting over who getting this big screen TV and, you know, different stuff like that. And it's like, if we sit down and even if people not ready to have that conversation, let them know your mindset. So when something happens, hey, I tried to have this conversation with you already. Right. I'm already over my mother's affairs and my father's affairs, so you have no say in this. We have it in legal document. So it helps that situation go a lot smoother when you get ahead of that game.
But in the beginning, we started talking about, because you said your wife thinks you dwell on the negative. One of my pet peeves is coworkers who just always complaining about something. Always got something to complain about. But you know what? I'm sure that's just not in police work. I'm sure that's in any job.
Yeah.
People always complain. I had an ex-girlfriend. Every time she got off work, she want to complain about the people at work. I don't do well with negativity. Constant negativity.
Yeah.
It's one thing to complain once or twice here and there. It's another thing where it's always something that you are complaining about, because at some point it's not about who you complaining about or what you're complaining about. At some point it begins to be about who? you. Speak on that. What you think about that?
I try not to complain unless I have a solution.
Yeah.
So and when we discussing stuff at work or at home, it's always a solution if I'm offering up. And at that time, those people involved can choose to either not take that solution or stay where we at.
Yeah.
So when, like, you know, we talked before about finances. If we do not make a plan to get out of the current situation to where we want to be when stuff is happening, or we want to go do stuff and we don't have money to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I wasn't complaining. I wasn't being negative. I was trying to be a reality realist in the time what we going through.
Right.
So it's tough.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I think you like me in that aspect where you want to face the monster.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You don't want to turn your back to the monster. You want to turn around, look at the monster in the face and say, this is what I am up against. Mm-hmm. And as long as I know what I'm up against, that means that I can prepare for it.
I can make the decision.
I can make the decisions. That's where my strength is. When I know about it, you know, I work to defeat that monster.
And just like you said, if you aren't happy with your job, you got an option.
You got an option.
you can leave that job.
Right.
Or you can make a plan to get to where you want to be. Sometimes you got to hold that job down until that other situation that what do you really want to do?
Right. If you're going to sit there and complain about it, you spend all that time complaining, but all that time you could have been using preparing yourself to move forward or move along.
And a lot of times, I come off as negative or a-hole because if people know what they're going through, and are not willing to make moves to better that situation, I don't know how to deal with that.
Right, I don't know how to deal with it.
You know what I'm saying? You tie to your family in turmoil, just like we talked about having living wills. Right. Your family in turmoil. What are you willing to do to fix that situation? Are y'all just gonna sit on and have Sunday dinner and nobody talk about nothing?
To me, that's just insanity.
Definition of insanity.
Because it's one of those things where you know something is brewing. You know something is coming. Like, it's not a doubt. This will happen, yet you do nothing to prepare for it. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, when that time comes and you are unprepared, who do you blame? You can only blame yourself.
I'll take the example. I'll be the example.
Yeah.
So when the hurricanes came through that time and we had power out for maybe about a week, right?
Yeah.
And we had to make some decisions because I got wife and kids, so we had to be with relatives and you saw what you didn't have and you saw where you wasn't prepared. As a man, that hurt me to my soul because I'm supposed to be that guy.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did when we got our house is I went out and bought a generator, a nice generator.
Yeah.
So I'm prepared against that situation.
Right.
So for the people who hated going through that situation, if you haven't changed your thought process today to not have to go through that again, then who ultimately is that on?
It's on you.
It's on you.
It's on you. I mean, God gave us a brain. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to use the brain. We can think for ourselves. Mm-hmm. Some things are just common sense. I know people love to say common sense ain't so common these days. But still, common sense exists. It's just whether or not you choose to acknowledge what makes sense.
Makes sense. If it makes sense.
Hey, you can sit there and like...
My mama used to say, was wrong... What she say? What's wrong is wrong, or what's right don't wrong nobody.
That's true though, ain't it?
If it's right,
that's true though, man.
Choose to accept it or not.
That is true.
Sit with it.
Yep, that's true.